Welcome to Delphine Circle in Harmonium, where conscious conversations spark transformation. I'm your host, Delphine Channels. Let's jump in. Welcome back to Delphine Circle in Harmonium. Today I am so excited to introduce you to somebody very special, one of Harmonium's founding member coaches, Natasha Davidson. Natasha is the guiding soul behind Heart-Rooted Health, where she blends energy healing with a deep gift for helping people move from stress and dysregulation into true inner peace. Beyond being a best-selling author and speaker, Natasha brings such grounded wisdom and intuitive clarity that working with her actually feels both expansive and deeply safe. Natasha, I'm so grateful to have you here. Welcome.
Thanks, Delphine. I'm so excited to be here.
So I always like to tell how I know people, and we are new friends. We met through Melanie when she brought you to a Harmonium meeting. I remember when she met you, I guess at a Chamber of Commerce meeting, which I've met so many people recently through Chamber, like my whole impression of Chamber of Commerce meetings has gone way up. She was so excited to bring you, and you have been such a beautiful asset to the community. I am so excited to finally get you in my chair and really dive deep into your background and the philosophy that you bring to your coaching.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. It just brings me so much joy to bring ideas, new ideas. I've been on this journey of awakening, also just expanding my consciousness and really seeing things from a higher perspective where I feel like I have a bird's eye view on life. And as a little girl, I remember I used to like to hang out with like the old people thinking that they were going to give me wisdom. So I think my whole life has been this search for wisdom, this search for meaning, this search for purpose. And, I have a deep love for humanity, and I'm always searching for how I can help humanity.
Oh, I feel that. I see that in you. Absolutely.
Maybe
you would consider moving out to the desert. We've got lots of old people out here, which has actually been really fun. But I know recently that your focus has been in really trying to reconnect your clients with their intuition. And I thought when I heard that, I was like, I love that. Like, I've never heard really that being a focus, but how did you come to that as a perspective for your work? And why is that so important now?
Yeah, so it's really important now because maybe it's where I'm at in my journey. I am seeing the importance of everyone being able to access and then trust their intuition, because I used to be one of those people that, was in this soup of doubt and didn't really know. Like, I was a follower, right? I was the one who, was told to get the good grades, go to the good school, go to the good university, get the good job, make the good money. And I was just kind of following this path of what I should do, what I was told to do. And
so many people do have that, right?
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
I'd say that's the majority of the population.
Yeah, and I didn't yet have access to my inner wisdom, my inner guidance, my inner authority, really. And so I was just kind of following along. And then because it was easy, because that was comfortable, because, I was taught like fly below the radar, right? Don't get noticed, And so I ended up living a life where I played small. I didn't play big. And now that I am playing big, oh my gosh, it's a whole different world, right? And it was going from this life of, being comfortable to stepping into boldness, stepping into this inner guidance, this inner intuition, I guess, where now that I follow that, now I'm led to it's almost like this open arena of possibility.
What was it that was that turning point for you? Because some people go through their whole life never getting to that point, but clearly you went from being a very different person than you are now. So what was that turning point like for you?
Yeah, I would say there's There were several different turning points. I think the first big turning point was my divorce, right? I think a lot of people that go through divorce will say like, wow, that was a huge turning point in my life. The second turning point was when I came to a moment of clarity where I decided the life that I'm living, I am not fulfilled, and I want to try a different way, right? And so this following the path of what I was supposed to do wasn't satisfying, wasn't fulfilling. And one day I just decided to leave my corporate job, and I guess I had such faith in myself that I thought I would figure it out. I was like, I will figure this out. And it led me to this path towards energy medicine, which then taught me the importance of being able to feel for the answer, which was my first step in tapping into my own intuition.
Yeah. And why is this so crazy weird, right? Why are we not taught this? Why is this something we have to like figure out on our own? Because we're not really taught to follow our intuition typically, right? I mean, I wasn't raised to believe that. I was told to follow the rules and listen to what my parents told me and listen to what society told me. And I just love that this is something that you're focusing on, because I mean, I do a whole retreat on authenticity, because it's kind of that same concept. It's like, how do I tap into my true feelings, my true intuition, and follow that as my guide?
Yes, yes. And I have found that our bodies will let us know when we are not in alignment with our true self. And that's all tied in with intuition, because our bodies will create these little signals, like we'll get these little impulses. And I've finally learned to listen to these impulses, right? Like those gut feelings. And yes, it's huge. It's huge.
So the methodology that you use, because when we first met, you told me about B.E.S.T or B.E.S.T, and I had never heard of that before. I've heard of it a couple times now. It's, you know, how it is, the Toyota that you buy and everybody's driving a Toyota. But explain more about B.E.S.T and why you chose that to be a focus of your practice.
Yeah, so in this kind of in-between time where I had left the corporate world, I was like, okay, if I'm gonna be working, I wanna do something I'm passionate about. And I thought, okay, what do I do in my free time? And so I realized that I was interested in health and nutrition. So I thought, oh, I'm gonna be a health coach, right? And they're gonna tell me what the perfect diet is, and then I'm gonna tell everyone what the perfect diet is, right? And then I learned after that there is no perfect diet, right? And a lot of it is this intuitive eating. I think at the end of the course, this 1-year program, they said, it's just eat intuitively. And I was like, what is eating intuitively, right? What is this intuition? And kind of about that same time, my mom had gotten sick with an autoimmune disease. And I was like, how am I going to help heal my mom? And I asked the question, why do some people heal and other people don't? And then it led me to this teacher in energy medicine where all the puzzle pieces came together, and it was these big aha moments of, oh, this is kind of like the Holy Grail, right? And so I went into studying energy medicine, and this teacher, her father was the one who created B.E.S.T, which is BioEnergetic Synchronization Technique. And so I learned this technique from her, and then it took me down this path. And as part of the technique, I was trained to observe how the body reacted, right? So using the science of applied kinesiology, you can observe how the body reacts to different questions that you ask it. And then I remember getting to a point where all of a sudden I didn't need to observe the body in front of me and how it reacted. I could just close my eyes and feel for the answer. And from that point, that's when I started awakening my intuition more and more and more, because I was feeling for the answers, feeling for the yes and the no. And then that became my own inner guidance system.
God, I love that.
Yeah.
And do you think that that is something that you can teach people?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people feel like that you either have it or you don't.
Right, yes. And that's actually why I created a group class, because I wanted people to be able to tap into their own intuition and really get in touch with this like felt sensory perception that we have. That's almost like a muscle that we can get stronger, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not something, like you said earlier, that we usually tap into, but if we do it slowly, step by step, we can. And so in my group class, what I do is I say either a word or a phrase or a situation, and I ask them, okay, where do you feel that in your body? And so it gets them really starting to perceive more of who they are, more of their body, but really every part of our body is just another aspect of consciousness. So they're really awakening to more and more of who they are.
Yes, I love that, because it is true. The more we do it, the more we tap into it, the more we look for it, it starts becoming more and more clear for us. I love that.
Exactly.
So one of our coaches recently called you a human tuning fork.
Yes.
Which I thought was a striking phrase, pun intended. And I know what he was saying. It's like you have this way of bringing people to peace, but you also have this ability to channel energy too. So explain to me a little bit more about what you personally bring to these sessions.
Yeah, so as this human tuning fork, right? Tuning forks emanate vibration. And this striking of the tuning fork really is an activation, right? And so what I've learned to do for myself is really get into alignment in who I am. And when I feel grounded and centered and embodied, then my energy field is very strong, right? But if my mind is dispersed thinking about, what's going on, the past, the future, then my energy is dispersed and I don't have this strong fork, if you will, right? And so when I bring all of my awareness onto self and I create this strong energy field, then that's what radiates. And I am this like channel of light. I perceive myself as this ray of light, this channel of light. And when energy is moving up and down my body very strongly, my energy field just radiates and emanates. And so what I intend to do is just be this pure white light, this pure frequency, and then in that purity, the peace emanates and ripples out, kind of like when you put a pebble in water and it just ripples out. And so that's who I intend to be, is this person that brings peace to humanity, bringing peace to the chaos, so that people can then be able to come to know themselves even more.
Yeah. When you're working with your clients and you're awakening their energy and you're tapping into their body's intelligence, what are the types of shifts that you see in your clients? Like what are some common things that people go through? Yeah,
so people come to me with really everything, right? So whether it's to address mental health, emotional health, physical health, maybe not feeling like they have a sense of purpose. I've seen it all, right? And when I first started, it was more these physical complaints that people would come to me with. Then it kind of evolved into like autoimmune, and then people grieving, people experiencing anxiety, all sorts of things, right? And it's all a reflection of their energy. Anything that happens on a physical level happens energetically first. And so what I learned to do is first address their nervous system. So most of the time their nervous system was out of balance. They were maybe stuck in their sympathetic nervous system, their fight or flight. And it's first about bringing calm and peace to the nervous system, allowing their body to be able to go to parasympathetic, be able to rest, digest, and heal where maybe they were stuck in fight or flight. And so that's the first step. And then after people are in balance with their nervous system, then they can awaken more of their consciousness. Because as you can imagine, if someone's fighting a tiger or a bear, they're not in their creative phase, right? They're just in survival. And so it's first about addressing survival, getting them out of survival mode, out of that victim consciousness, and then helping them realize that they are the creator of their reality. And so there's this shift into this creator consciousness where they're able to awaken to more of who they are as they open up more of their consciousness and it expands.
Wow. So do they typically see results quickly? Is this something that takes a long time? I mean, what is the process like for them?
Yeah, so for everyone it's different. I have experienced it many times myself where I have received these treatments. And I mean, it's a process. It's how much do you want to awaken? How much do you want to be aware of? And as we know of the David Hawkins chart of the level of consciousness, right? So maybe we're starting out in that kind of limited victim mentality. Our bodies are screaming at us, right? Like, pay attention to me. And so the first step is, getting them out of that. And, if something happened that was kind of in the recent past, it's a quicker shift than if someone has been living their whole life self-sacrificed, abandoning themselves and not really in touch with who they are, completely disconnected from themselves, then it's going to take a little bit longer to realign with their true authentic self because they've been disconnected from it for so long. So everyone is going to be different. Everyone's on their own journey, and I never know. It's always a fun surprise to me too.
Well, that brings me to your book, Awakened Hearts, which is a beautiful book. You have a chapter in here that is called The Courage to Feel. And that kind of reminds me of what you're saying here, because a lot of times it's just gaining that courage, right? To actually, we avoid and we deflect because we're afraid of feeling those feelings. So tell me a little bit about your chapter and your motivation for writing that.
Yeah, so when I was invited to write a chapter, at first I was like, I'm not a writer. I don't write.
Which you are very good, by the way.
Thank you.
Very well done.
And then I just sat down and let it flow. And I wanted to provide a story that inspired people. And I had been told, oh, Natasha, the life that you live is inspiring. And I didn't perceive it yet. But when I really sat down and I wrote about my story, right? And it really starts with this moment before I got divorced, where I was just left and abandoned, and just those feelings of betrayal that I felt that I suppressed for many years thereafter. And when I sat down to write, I just started really feeling. I let myself feel. I let myself feel all of the anger, the betrayal, the abandonment. And after letting myself feel, I noticed that feeling is healing, right? And it also was a revealing. So I revealed more of my journey to myself, and then I really became aware of how important it is to feel. And I titled the chapter The Courage to Feel because it takes great courage to feel. So many times we are distracting ourselves, we're suppressing. I mean, I used to be so good at suppressing my emotions because it was like, okay, move forward, you got to move forward in life. And then I finally got to a point where I could let myself feel. And in the in the chapter, I share how I went through this place of feeling like a victim to really this empowering journey of taking risks, right? Being bold and then letting myself feel and really having a bit of a sense of adventure in life, and then getting to the place where I am now where life is fun, it's playful, I have complete freedom. I'm able to be more present because I don't have this kind of interference in my field of this unresolvedness that I still need to heal. So when we are still trying to heal our past, it's really hard to be present and enjoy the moment and enjoy the pleasures and the freedom of life when our mind is entrapped in that unresolved emotion.
That's so true. And, I say often, life happens for us, not to us. I'm sure at that moment you could not have seen that it was going to be such an incredible turning point and lead you on this journey. And I mean, do you think you could have even done the work that you're doing now without, having that experience?
I don't know. If I'm asked what was the gift in, that phase of my life of, before I got divorced, I would say that I needed that for the contrast, right? It's like I needed to have lived that life of self-sacrifice, of devotion, of really abandoning myself, which then later was reflected on the outside when someone abandoned me. And so after having experienced that and kind of the imprisonment of my mind, then to go to this place of complete freedom, it's just beautiful to experience the contrast, right?
Yeah, it really is. It's beautiful. And I know that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be watching this and they're not there yet, right? They haven't gotten there yet. And there's so much of our society that is looped into distraction, numbing, busyness. Busyness is a big one because we think that if we're staying busy and productive, then of course that's what we're supposed to be doing. So that's kind of one of those things that lull us into thinking everything must be fine. I'm being productive. But it's those distractions that are keeping us from being able to fulfill our full sense. And, if you had a message to somebody who's in the place that you were before you had your awakening, and they call it an awakening for a reason, right? What would that message be to them?
Yeah, I would encourage them to allow for quiet time. So I see this with my teenage kids. They are so distracted on their phones, always busy, and there isn't that quiet time. And in the quiet time, in the stillness, yes, you can tap into your intuition, but also when we're bored, that's when we're the most creative, right? And so I would encourage people to allow some quiet time, some stillness. Alone walks in nature have been so healing for me. And just allow yourself to feel a little bit of that discomfort, because there is this transformational path where we go from this state of unease, of discomfort. We go through that kind of on this path of intuition where we really get quiet and start to feel and sense subtleties in energy. And then from there, then we get to this state of clarity, of freedom. And so the first step is getting quiet. Probably the second step is feeling, right? Letting yourself feel whatever comes up in the moment. Most likely unease will come up when you get quiet, but rather than pushing away, resisting the unease, really sitting with the discomfort and letting yourself feel it, and then just like little baby steps, it gets easier and easier to be in the quiet. And in the quiet is when you get divine inspiration, and then you begin to ironically live a life of ease. So it's like you have to first feel the unease in order to get to this sustained, stable life of ease.
Yes. So I read Michael Singer's newest book, and I'm drawing a blank right now about the name of it, but he said the process was we get quiet, we feel the feelings, we acknowledge the lesson, because that's a big one, right? Like everything that happens to us is for a reason. There's a lesson behind that, there's a reason, there's a purpose. Acknowledge what the purpose is. If we think about it, we know what the purpose is. Why did that person break up with me? Well, maybe because I wasn't being my whole self, and I needed to move away from that relationship in order to like truly be in alignment.
Yes.
I mean, we can go through the whole list, right? We always know what it is if we're being honest with ourselves. So we get quiet, we feel the feelings, we acknowledge the lesson, we be grateful for the opportunity for that lesson, and then we release.
Yes.
And it's funny because it's the release part that a lot of times people have a hard time with. They say, okay, I can do all that, but then I get to how do I release it, right? And what is your suggestion for, what is the process of release?
Yeah, that's a great question, because for a long time I heard that like, surrender, let go. And I was like, but how do I, right? Like, how do I? And since then I've really learned that trust is the key component. So when I trust myself and I trust the universe, my higher self, whatever you want to call God, right? Trusting all that is, then I'm able to let go and surrender. And now I'm on this path of just accepting and trusting and surrendering, and things just flow with ease. And so I would say the first step is trusting, and being able to trust yourself is a journey, right? And the first step to that is tapping into your intuition.
That's so true, because when we start tapping into our intuition, we start believing in ourselves, and then that's where the trust can spread. So it's a cycle. It's all one big circle. It's beautiful. I also know that you believe in somatic practices, and oftentimes those types of body type experiences and exercises can help with release. What has been your experience with that, or what do you like to talk to your clients about in terms of somatic practices?
Yeah, so there are a whole slew of somatic practices out there. I think what's beautiful about it is they all get us more embodied and more in touch with our inner wisdom, that felt sensory perception that is so important in this building of our intuition. And anytime that we're in our body, we are growing our energy field too, and we're perceiving more of our sense of self. And so, yes, we radiate, you know, more peace, more love out to the world. But when we are really in touch with our own intuition, our own sensibility, our true self, that's the healing. Like, one thing I've really learned is that when you're in alignment with your true self, you are healed. Like, that is the healing, is getting in alignment with your true authentic self.
That is so true. You're so sweet, because your smile is so like beautiful. I'm just looking at you and I feel like I'm radiating too. I feel that tuning fork thing coming on. I talk about living in 5D because that's something that's been really a focal point of mine and also of the Harmoneum community. But, you know, I describe 5D as feeling a sense of love and connection and that, you know, that unity consciousness and acceptance. Is that where you live now?
Yes, yes. And it took a while to get here. And it took me releasing the opposite of all of those, right? So the judgment is huge, and judgment keeps us from the love, the acceptance, the understanding, all of those vibrations that are in 5D. Mm-hmm. And so the first step is releasing judgment. Mm-hmm. And, you know, like I said, it's a journey. And one thing I love to bring to my clients is the awareness of where they are not experiencing 5D, where they are not in a state of pure love, where their mind has created these misperceptions, these judgments that are not really truths, right? And that's how we get to a state where we do need healing, is when we are in judgment. So, for example, if something happens in our life where, say we're in a car accident, right? And we're just so angry at this person and we can't forgive them, right? That creates this judgment that we then hold in our bodies. Or for example, you know, we're angry at the lover that left us, right? That lover should have never left us, right? Mm-hmm. And so we hold on to these unresolved emotions, these unresolved perceptions in our body, and that's what creates disease, right? The dis-ease. And so it was a journey of me really going inside, finding out where there was unresolvedness, bringing light to that, and love, mm-hmm. and then getting to this point where I can live in 5D and 6D and beyond.
Mm-hmm. You know, one of the things that I heard about judgment, which has really shaped my thinking about it, is it's not even enough to just not judge negatively. We're actually not even supposed to judge positively. Because let's say, for instance, I say, that's my best friend. By saying that's my best friend, you are somehow slighting the other friends in a comparative way, right?
Yes.
And so that understanding recently has really blown my mind, because I've been really more thoughtful about having a level of acceptance for everything just as it is, without trying to do a comparison about anything.
Yes.
And my son said something to me the other day. You know, as parents, we can't help it, right? I'm like, honey, you know, your brother, and he goes, Mom, stop comparing me to my brother. And it just stopped me in my tracks. And I was like, you are so right. I said, thank you so much for bringing that to my attention, because it's the little things that, and we're never going to be perfect, right? We're never going to be perfect, but it's the clarity that we can get on those little fine tuning that is a big difference, right? It creates the difference between a 5D and a 6D and a 7D.
Yes, yes. And you bring up a really good point about the separation, right? Mm-hmm. The best friend example. So when you create separation, that is the opposite of unifying, right? And we know love is this unifying force. And when we judge, we create separation. And then it shows up in our body, right? The separation, mm-hmm. right? The cells that create separation from each other. And when we bring in that love, we're unifying, and everything is working harmoniously. It's like teamwork, right?
Yes, yes, yes. And you know, I've been studying the Kabbalah recently, and which I'm just so loving so much. And the Kabbalah describes it as being in alignment with Prime Creator. And so if you imagine that the Prime Creator is sending out its love, do you think Prime Creator loves one person more than the next, more than the next? No, we would believe that God, or whatever you want to call it, loves us all equally. So would you want God to be in comparison? Oh, that's my better kid, or that's my, you know. No, of course not. We wouldn't see that. And so the more that we can align ourselves with the light of the Creator, the more in 5D or a higher frequency that we are living.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I love it. You know, so many times I recommend energy healing to pretty much everybody. I think everybody needs energy healing. But a lot of people have never had that experience, and even just the thought of it strikes them with a little fear. So can you explain like a typical energy healing session, what would that look like for somebody?
Yeah, and I think it strikes fear because it's unknown, right? And we maybe feel like, oh, we're going to be out of control, right? But all energy healing is, at least the way I do it, is I'm bringing awareness to something that's been hidden from them, right? Hidden in the subconscious that they're not fully aware of. And it's so fascinating to me that when I bring light to something, when I bring awareness to something, then it comes to the surface, and then that's the healing. Like the healing is the revealing. It's the feeling and the revealing. And so I can see how people can have fear of the unknown, but really, ironically, the funny thing is we're bringing what's in the unknown to the known, and that's the revealing and that's the healing.
You've been talking that you're expanding into retreats and sacred gatherings. I mean, in your highest, best vision of that, what is that going to look like?
Yeah, and so the reason why that was something that was attractive to me is because I got to the place, especially after writing this book and really letting myself feel and coming to this realization that people maybe don't feel safe to feel. And so I wanted to create the safe container for people to come and be fully supported so that they can feel in this safe space with like nurturing energy and this awareness of, oh, I've been where you're at, and I'm also here to share wisdom and expand your consciousness so that you can live a life of ease, of fun, of playfulness, of freedom, rather than being kind of entrapped by the mind, right? And so that's my goal in creating these retreats, because as I've learned, retreats can be the most transformational time and space. And if I can help people shift quickly, why not, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it's a journey, but when you're in that retreat space, you can really learn to embody and expand.
I had a couple girlfriends come out to the house, and this is a good group of girls that I spend a lot of time with, but we typically do lunches and that type of thing. And they came and they stayed for 3 days, and the amount of like love that came out of that, like everybody was just like, they didn't want to leave. They were like, when can we plan the next one? And we were saying, well, what is it? Like, we get together all the time, but what is the difference? And I think it's exactly right. First of all, when you change environments, energy shifts. When you're not in your same environment that you're in all the time, your energy shifts. And also when you have a flow of energy that is longer than a couple hours, right? When you can sit with people and allow that space to open up, it is so beautiful. I love retreats. I love to go to them. I love to host them. I think they're a beautiful thing. And I'm so excited to see what you do with yours, because I can imagine that they're going to be fabulous.
Thank you. And it's also this wonderful opportunity for me to get creative, right? So the first half of my life, I was very left brain, right? And now I'm expanding my right brain, expanding this creativity. I used to think like, oh, I'm good at math. Like, I'm not creative, I'm not artistic. And so now I'm having fun with this creativity. And I see how the retreats can be this fun, playful, creative outlet where I'm that safe container for people. I'm creating that safe space for people, that nurturing space where they can feel, they can heal. And oh, by the way, like, we can have fun. We can be open to inspiration and creativity.
I love it. So much fun. For people who are not members of Harmoneum, because obviously we can see there, but if they're not members of Harmoneum, how would they get in touch with you?
Yes, so the easiest way is through my website, heartrootedhealth.com, and they can do a nervous system reset quiz to see kind of where they're at. I also list where I have classes. I have in-person classes, I have classes online. And of course, they can reach out to me for a 15-20 minute chat right on my website. They can book that, they can schedule it. So I'm happy to chat and share with them.
Yay. Thank you so much, Natasha. I'm so happy to have had you here and get to share more about your beautiful light and what you bring to the world. So thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Delphine. Appreciate it.
We're so grateful you joined us for this episode of Delphine Circle. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and share. And for even more connection, sign up for a free community membership at harmoneum.com. See you there.